The chill that settled over Arthur wasn't just from the autumn air that whipped through Blackwood Creek. It was in the faces of the villagers, a sea of identical, unnervingly wide smiles that never quite reached their vacant eyes. As a historian, Arthur had sought out the isolated village for its rumored preservation of old traditions, but this was something else entirely. A profound wrongness clung to the air like the perpetual mist. Looping spiral symbols, unlike any he'd ever documented, were carved into every surface. The door frames, the ancient stone bridge, even the bark of the skeletal trees that lined the single dirt road. The smiles followed him, a silent, synchronized welcome that felt more like a warning. The village was a living relic, but one whose history was a closed book, and he felt a growing dread that he was not meant to read its pages. Driven by a mix of academic curiosity and primal fear, Arthur found himself in the decaying town hall. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light piercing through grimy windows, illuminating shelves of neglected records. Most were rotted through, but he managed to salvage a few fragmented ledgers. The ink was faded, the script archaic, but the words he could decipher painted a chilling picture. They spoke of a pact, a covenant made with an entity from beneath the root and shadow, this being promised eternal prosperity and bountiful harvests, shielding the village from the famines and plagues that ravaged the outside world. The price, however, was steep and cyclical. The ledgers mentioned an offering, a renewal, a welcoming of the bough. But the specific details were torn away, leaving a gaping hole in the narrative that mirrored the gnawing emptiness in his stomach. The annual harvest festival was announced with the same unsettling cheer. Yet as night fell, a low, rhythmic chanting drew Arthur away from the hollow festivities in the village square. He followed the sound through the darkened woods until he stumbled upon a hidden grove. The entire village was there, their fixed smiles illuminated by flickering torchlight. They formed a semicircle before a colossal, gnarled tree whose branches clawed at the night sky. As the chanting reached a fever pitch, the trunk of the ancient tree began to split and writhe. A grotesque creature, a writhing mass of black roots and shifting shadows, unfolded itself from the wood. Its form was a blasphemy against nature, and it extended a grasping vine-like tendril toward the villagers, ready to claim its due. Arthur's scream was a pathetic whisper against the chorus of ritualistic chanting. He tried to rush forward, to shout, to break the horrific spell that held the villagers captive, but his limbs were heavy, his will sapped by the sheer wrongness of the scene. Shadowy roots erupted from the ground, ensnaring him, pulling him into the crowd. The world dissolved into a blur of smiling faces and suffocating darkness. The next thing he knew, sunlight was warming his face. He stood at the edge of the village, a welcoming, vacant smile plastered across his own lips. Down the road, a new car was approaching, a lone driver with a curious expression. Clad in the simple, rustic attire of a Blackwood Creek resident, Arthur raised a hand in greeting, his voice joining a silent, eternal chorus as he prepared to welcome the unsuspecting visitor.